Hello and welcome to Impact Yobe, your weekly roundup of news and activities in the pride of the Sahel. My name is Femi Akonde. Thank you for joining us.
As a way of contributing to the fight against coronavirus, the Nigerian Labour Congress Yobe State chapter has donated face masks and wash hand kits to the State Ministry of Health for onward distribution to its staff and the public. The event took place during the commemoration of Workers' Day in Damaturu. The chairman of the State Labour Union says the gesture is a way of supporting the efforts of the state government in this trying period.
Totally in the state. That is why, because of this COVID-19, that's why we didn't do our normal activities as a Workers' Day. And because of that, we decided to fight against it and to make a sensitization to our workers so that they can stay at home to be safe because of this pandemic.
So, Ministry of Health, Yobe State Government, we would like to say thank you for this gesture. This is a very, very good gesture, and it has shown philanthropism at the highest order. You have shown that humanity is a priority to you, and we appreciate that immensely. So we are profusely grateful for this gesture, and inshallah we will try and as much as possible use it to prevent COVID-19 pandemic in State Specialist Hospital and Yobe State in general.
The Yobe State government has embarked on the second phase of the disinfection exercise routine, but this time the fumigation exercise is across all government offices. The exercise, which commenced at the 8th Divisional Police Command, was attended by the Commissioners for Environment and Water Resources. Speaking with journalists, the Commissioner for Environment, Honorable C.D. Kanasua, noted that Governor May Malabuni has directed that the disinfection exercise should be maintained to ensure that all structures, public places and crowded areas are fumigated.
This exercise, as we plug off the disinfection exercise some weeks ago. So His Excellency directed us to sustain this exercise because of its importance, and it's no longer news because of the situation we found ourselves in the state right now. So that's why we are continuing the exercise of the disinfection of entire Damaturu and some local government areas like Nguru, Kashua, and Gaidam and Patisco. Not only government institutions, including public places like market, like motor parks, and so all places.
The Commissioner for Water Resources, Senator Alkali Jajiri, applauded Governor Buni and the federal government for awarding the Damaturu Regional Water Supply Project.
Good news is that in a week's time, the advertisement for the awarding of the contract of Damaturu Regional Water Supply is going to take place. And this is the major project that will solve the water problem in Damaturu metropolis. It was envisaged by the design of that project. By 2020, it was envisaged Damaturu will have a water crisis, unless if that project comes on stream. And unfortunately, the project was delayed. It has not come on stream. And then we are in 2020, and we're having this crisis, rightly envisaged by the designers of that project. So, but His Excellency is committed to executing the Damaturu Regional Water Supply Project in collaboration of the Federal Ministry of Water Supply, Water Resources. So in about 2 weeks, it will be re-awarded. So I think this is good news, and this is the solution to the Damaturu water supply.
The Yobe State government recently imposed a dusk-to-dawn curfew across the 17 local government area of the state. This was disclosed by the Yobe COVID-19 Response Committee in a press briefing in Damaturu. The Deputy Governor, who also doubles as the chairman of the Yobe COVID-19 Committee, says the use of face mask is now compulsory for residents. noting that defaulters in interstate border closure directive would be forced to the isolation center by the security operatives.
Having known to us that so far we have recorded 13 cases of COVID-19 in Yobe State, the committee resolved to adhere to the following instructions. 1. Contact tracing for the purpose of self-isolation or isolation by compulsory. This means in contact tracing, if you are identified as one of the contacts with the carrier of COVID-19 without symptoms, you will be advised to stay for 2 weeks in your house. If you refuse, we pick you and quarantine you in an isolation center which are made available by the state government. 2. Wearing of face mask is compulsory in all public places. This means all Yobians should ensure total compliance, since it has been advised that wearing of masks reduces the spread of COVID-19.
We do not copy and paste interventions. We've seen the effects of total lockdowns in even places that are more endowed than this state. We have our peculiarities in Yobe State, and we have to contextualize our interventions so that they are complied with. And that is why we are taking the route of engaging the communities through the community gatekeepers, through which include the traditional and religious institutions, and then directly working with the communities. We are working to establish a ownership, partnership with the communities so that we all work as one to prevent us from contracting the disease. Of course, government is also providing palliatives even without the shutdown, because we understand the poverty rates and other needs across the state. So as it is, we'll continue to strategize and continue to implement our plans in such a way that it's not going to create other secondary effects as a result of that. Because if the solution is worse than the problem, then obviously you will end up not achieving that. And as it is, we will not be able to accommodate such ripples across the state. So that is why we're carefully doing everything to make sure that we protect the lives, the welfare, and the well-being of the people of the state.
Then the curfew, beginning from 8 p.m. up to 6 a.m. in the morning, is going to be enforced in total for security in Yobe State. So it is very, very clear. The only thing that we have not used categorical words, but as I understand from this resolution here, Yobe State Police Command and State Agency in Yobe State has been given the directive to enforce curfew in Yobe State, beginning from 8 p.m. to 6 p.m. in the morning, daily until further notice.
As a way of enlightening the rural dwellers on the danger of COVID-19, the Yobe State government has engaged traditional rulers as major key players in disseminating the message to the grassroots. The traditional rulers promised to sensitize members of their respective communities. In a speech, the chairman of the Yobe COVID-19 committee also made wearing of masks in rural community a compulsory task for everyone. He noted that Governor Buni is keen on protecting the lives of Yobe citizens and ensuring that everyone adhere to the precautionary measures put in place by the state government.
Emirs and mice across Yobe State to discuss on the resolutions of the 8th meeting of the COVID-19 Yobe State, which were read to the press yesterday, for adherence to the rules of law to curtail the spread of COVID-19. So far as we are talking to you today, Yobe State has recorded 13 carriers of the COVID-19. So there is need to intensify measures that will curtail its spread among our communities. And His Excellency, in its own wisdom, directed that we should discuss the itemized measures to the Royal Highnesses for implementation to the latter. You are all aware that the Royal Highnesses are the custodians of our people and culture. So whatever you want to read the grassroots, it is very easy for the adherents to reach the target audience through their Royal Highnesses.
You know, in the traditional institution, we have our way of communicating with our people. We have from the lowest, we have the bulamas, we have the numbers, we have the district heads, right up to the Emirate Council. So we hope to use this medium to disseminate these resolutions to our people, and we think that through this medium it will get to the grassroots, and they will understand what the resolutions are about observing the 5 principles of self-distances, personal hygiene, and all these resolutions on the combating this pandemonium.
Welcome to the interview segment on Impact Yobe. Our guest today is the Secretary to the State Government, Baba Malam Wali MNI. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you, welcome.
So your office is in charge of coordinating policy implementation of this administration. Now let's talk about the blueprint, or what is that overall program of Governor Malam Buni's administration?
Well, you know, during his swearing-in ceremony on 29th of May 2019, His Excellency Honorable Malam Buni stated in his inaugural speech the policy direction of his administration. And the whole policy gamut of the whole administration is to do with how to improve the livelihood of the people of Yobe State. And he started that one by having a plan. As you know, if you don't plan, you plan to fail. So His Excellency directed during his administration, he carried out some important issues which directly affect the people of Yobe. 1, in the area of education; 2, in the area of agriculture; 3, in the area of health; 4, in the infrastructure; and lastly, which is also encompassing, is to do with the area of empowerment of the people and improving the lifestyle of the people. So on education, His Excellency directly, during his inaugural speech, declared state of emergency in the education. The state of emergency in education is an encompassing. Yobe is one of the states with the performance of our work is very, very low. We have a lot of out-of-school children. In the area of urban areas, you find that most in our urban areas, there are overcrowded students in classes. In some classes, you will find about 250, 300 people per class. In the rural areas, you will find a lot of people who are not in the out-of-school children. Most of the schools are empty. So His Excellency directed that a state of emergency has to be declared on the education sector in order to address these challenges I mentioned. So in order to address these challenges, an education summit was called. All education people who are both within the state and outside the state, experts in the field of education, were convened. We had a 3-day summit on education. A technical committee under the current Vice Chancellor of Yobe State University, Professor Dora, was established. They came out with a blueprint on how to revamp the education sector. The report has already been submitted to government. we are now working assiduously in order to address these challenges.
Well, that's a good one, sir. Yeah. But again, there's a new ministries were created, like the education sector. There was primary and basic education, and then there's the tertiary. Yeah. Another ministry that was created is the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Disaster Management. Yes. What informed the creation of that ministry?
What informed the creation of 4 additional ministries? One, as I mentioned, in the Ministry of the Education, we have to address the education sector, and one of the major problems we had is to do with the basic education. And that's why the Ministry of Education was split into basic education and higher education in order to address the challenges. The same thing with the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. Hitherto, it was only SEMA that has been dealing with the issues of humanitarian affairs. Yobe is one of the states that is bedeviled with this insurgency. A lot of people are being currently resettled. So what informed the ministry is, one, to have a ministry that will be coordinating the activities of all humanitarian agencies in the state. And that is one of the greatest responsibility of the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, to address the challenges that are going on, especially in the issue of resettlement, rehabilitation, and the resettlement of our people in the rural areas. And generally, this is one of the functions of the ministry. So that's why, to address these challenges, that is why the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs was created. The same thing with the Ministry of Transport and Energy and the Ministry of Works. The Ministry of Works is formally, addressing the problems of both transport, energy, and works.
Okay, if you look at the population of Yobe State, a large percentage of them are farmers, and they live in the rural areas. What's the government doing to reach out to them, to help their livelihood, and also connect them with the urban areas, especially with markets where they need to sell their produce?
As I mentioned right from the beginning, I said, we have already had an agricultural blueprint. Yobe is an agricultural state. With our population of 4 million, almost 85% of our people depend on agriculture. And our aim is to produce, that is why I said we have to improve the per capita production of our farmers per hectare and per capita. And the reason why this agricultural retail was convened and the establishment of the Technical Committee on Agriculture is to boost this production per capita and for export. We have vast a lot of land. Yobe is, because our population per person, per capita is very, very low in here. You have a lot of land. You have a lot of water resources, repairing rivers all over, which we can boost and you can tap for agricultural production in the state. And by doing this one, with the investment which the state government is now currently going into the agricultural production, in the next 1, 2, 3 years, you will find that will produce enough food, not only for export, but also for domestic consumption, but for export. And we are going to have a lot of industries that will be springing up in order to, process the agricultural products, which is going to be excess agricultural products that is going to be produced in the rural areas.
Because I talked to us about programs of the government specifically targeted at lifting people out of poverty.
We have 3 programs. One, agriculture is one. Agriculture is one of the greatest issues in order to lift our people from poverty. You improve their production, you improve their input. Both agriculture, and when I talk about agriculture, I'm talking about both agricultural, crop production, and the livestock. And in these areas, we are going to make a lot of investment. The second area we are going to do a lot of issues, which the state government is now currently doing, is go into training of our youth in various skills acquisition and training. And then the last one, which is educated, is also education. We are giving a lot of, education is key to all development. Without education, you cannot lift people from poverty. And we are making a lot of investment in the education sector. We are sending, for example, currently about over 200 students to read various medical and paramedical courses now to India. More will be trained. And there are existing many of them who are coming there. And all of these people, they come back, they are going to be utilized and effectively utilized within the states so that they will improve the life of our people. So, but for general, our target is to improve the agricultural production in the state, both for agriculture, for crop production and livestock, and this is area we are going to lift more people from poverty. Once you improve agricultural production and you have a lot of processing industries that will be utilizing this agricultural production, you have a lot of multiplier effect that will directly improve the lifespan of our people.
Okay, let's talk about the civil service that is like the live wire of every administration. How robust in terms of strength now? How vibrant is the civil service in Yobe State? And what are some things put in place to also check excesses and instill discipline in the service?
Well, fortunately, Yobe is one of the states with a very robust, well-trained civil service. We had a lot of reforms both in the public financial system and the public service management system. This reform, which we fortunately had with the support of our donors, the DFID, EU, and all others, we have been able to reform the whole civil service. Now, if you go, and because of this reform, in the overall World Bank portfolio in the country, Yobe came first. And then in the overall also, not only in the country, we started with the Northeast, then to the North, and the country. We get all the best in the overall work portfolio in terms of public service, in terms of management of the, especially in terms of the area of public service and public financial management system. So the Yobe State Civil Service has already been well reformed. We know we have a lot of challenges, especially in terms of cessation. We are now giving a lot of more emphasis into the middle cadre staff, because most of the top cadre staff that have been trained are now currently retiring. So we are giving much emphasis now to train the middle cadre staff in the whole state so that they can also imbibe the system which has already been established. So the system in the civil service is already very robust. Posting and appointment into positions are made based on merit. This is one of our greatest advantages, and His Excellency has given his blessing to that effect, which has already been ongoing. And you'll find that all persons that have been posted to his position for a particular position, they should have the requisite qualification, they should have the requisite training for them to be posted in order to carry out that particular job. And the training and the retraining is an ongoing exercise, and we will continue to have that one. That is why the system has already been very well established, and it is going to, that is the reason why the state is moving very much forward. And you will find that throughout the system, since His Excellency came into this on 29th of May, we have never failed in payment of salary. Salaries are being paid as a when due. One, we are not taking any loan from any bank in order to pay our salaries. We have already started implementing the minimum wage based on what we have, and the minimum wage already last month, all our staff in the state and the local government have already enjoying the 30,000 minimum wage in the state. So this reform has already been imbibed by the whole system, and His Excellency has given all his blessing in order to do that, and that's why the state is moving forward.
Okay, sir, let's talk about the health sector. This is one sector that's also critical to the development of Yobe State, and it appears a lot of money has been pumped into that sector. What's the state of health right now in Yobe State?
We have been able to improve our improve the maternal and child health system in the state. The maternal and child mortality has already been reduced greatly in the state now with the reform. The reform in the health sector was carried out in 3 stages. Number 1, we started with the primary health care system. We are now having one effective primary health care per ward. Together with the support we got from the Saving 1 Million Life, and you remember, because of our support, His Excellency, the federal government and the World Bank gave us $29 million because of the reform we had in the health sector as our grant, because we became the overall pest in the country. So we are investing that $29 million into the reform into the health sector, especially in the area of improvement of primary health care in the state. We are currently improving about 51 health centers out of 158. Already 81 has already been improved. We are currently working on another 51, that making about 130 something, 132 or 133 primary health care centers out of the 178, which will be completely improved. And by 2021, all the primary health care centers will be upgraded to the minimum standard of primary health care in the whole country. And in terms of the drug management system, the drug management agency will be responsible for sourcing drug at source so that we don't have problem of packed drugs being administered in our communities. And secondly, we'll have direct communication or direct link between the manufacturers of drugs and the Ministry of Health, so that the drugs will be provided to the communities at a very, very affordable rate, not as what it is being produced in the market. So that all this will be able to improve the health system in the state. And in respect of the secondary health system, in the previous administration, a lot of hospitals are already being rehabilitated. New hospitals, about 6 of them, under the current administration will be now be upgraded, because we have only 6 general hospitals that have not been upgraded in the country, in the state now. And these 6 general hospitals will be upgraded between 2020 and 2021.
And that's our conversation with the Secretary to the state government in Yobe State, Baba Malam Wali MNI, telling us about policies, plans and programs of the Governor Mai Mala Buni's administration. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And that's our package this week. Until next week, when we come your way again with fresh news and updates from the pride of the Sahel. The program has been Impact Yobe. And my name is Femi Akonde. See you next time.